The alien spacecraft plummeted through the sky like a blazing meteor. Captain Thex 9 stared at his control panel with rising panic as red alerts flooded every screen. The Void Whisper was dying beneath his feet, and he had no way to stop it. "Commander, we've lost the primary engines." His engineer's voice cracked. "Hull breaches across multiple decks. Our life support systems are shutting down." Thex 9 shut all 4 of his eyes and faced the toughest choice of his career. "Everyone off the ship. Aim for that third planet down there. We're going to have to make an emergency landing." The third planet shone blue and green below them. His species, the Zephyrians, had written it off as worthless. The creatures living there were backward. They hadn't even figured out how to travel between stars. They'd witness his ship's final moments, but they'd never grasp what they were really seeing. The Void Whisper howled as it tore through the planet's atmosphere. The inhabitants called their world Earth. Thex 9 felt everything shake violently as they dropped toward the ground. Through the viewport, he watched endless green forests rushing up to swallow them. "Everyone hold on tight," he yelled. The vessel struck the surface with devastating force. Ancient trees exploded into splinters as the enormous craft gouged a deep trench through the wilderness. It skidded across miles of terrain before grinding to a stop in a valley ringed by mountains. Smoke billowed from countless ruptures in the outer shell. The once gleaming silver exterior, which had sparkled like starlight, now lay twisted and charred. The engines that had propelled them across entire galaxies had gone silent permanently. Thex 9 dragged himself up from his command seat. Around him, his crew checked themselves for wounds. They'd gotten lucky. Just 3 out of 20 crew members hadn't survived the impact. "Give me a damage assessment," he called out. "The ship is finished, Commander." His head engineer spoke with sadness in his voice. "The quantum core has fractured. The gravity systems are obliterated. Even with proper facilities, this damage goes beyond repair." Thex 9 had expected nothing less. The Craven Collective had hammered them mercilessly during their last encounter. Those bloodthirsty creatures wielded weapons that sliced through Zephyrian defenses like tissue paper. "What about our emergency destruction system?" he asked. "I'll attempt to trigger it, Commander. But with our power failing, I can't guarantee full effectiveness." "Activate it regardless. We can't let these backward beings discover our advanced systems." The engineer struggled with his panel for several long minutes. Finally, he raised his head. "Commander, the destruction sequence is running, but only at 30% capacity. It'll eliminate some components, but far from everything." Thex 9 weighed his options. 30% would need to suffice. Even if fragments survived, what could these primitive humans possibly do with them? They still launched chemical-powered rockets just to reach their own moon. They'd examined Zephyrian systems like ancient cave dwellers staring at modern computers. "Broadcast our emergency signal," he instructed. "Tell them we need extraction right away." While waiting for their rescue, Thex 9 walked through his failing vessel one final time. The Void Whisper had served as his home for 15 years. He'd discovered distant star systems in this craft. He'd established peaceful contact with 6 different civilizations. Now it would finish its existence as wreckage on a forgotten world. The ship's passages sat in darkness except for backup lighting. Whole sections had lost power completely. Inside the research areas, precision equipment lay shattered across floors. The medical center was drowning in leaked coolant from ruptured conduits. The navigation hub, where the ship's quantum intelligence had once calculated leaps across space, now contained nothing but lifeless monitors. Yet even in its ruined condition, the ship remained a technological wonder. The hull was constructed from quantum crystalline alloy that could heal itself under proper conditions. The propulsion system manipulated gravity waves to push the vessel faster than light itself. The computers possessed near-living intelligence. Thex 9 ran his palm across a bulkhead. Even damaged, he sensed the faint pulse of quantum crystals attempting to mend the ship. But without adequate power, they couldn't work nearly fast enough to make any difference. 3 hours passed before the rescue craft appeared. Another Zephyrian vessel, the Star's Edge, led by Captain Vel 12. "Thex 9, we picked up your distress call," Vel 12 announced as he materialized aboard. "Command wants a complete briefing on the Craven encounter." "That can wait," Thex 9 responded. "First priority is evacuating my people from this planet." They assembled in the transport chamber. Each crew member could only take what they could physically carry. Everything else stayed behind. "Commander," the engineer questioned, "shouldn't we extract the quantum core? Even broken, it holds technology these beings shouldn't possess." Thex 9 surveyed the chamber. The core was building-sized and weighed thousands of tons. Removing it safely would take days, and the primitive humans might stumble upon them at any moment. Leave it, he decided. The destruction system damaged it severely. Even if they locate it, they'll never comprehend its workings. Time to depart. One after another, the crew transported to the rescue vessel. Thex-9 went last. Before activating his transport beacon, he took one last look at his command deck. Farewell, old companion. He whispered to his ship. The rescue vessel lifted away and vanished into space, abandoning the Void Whisper to its forest tomb. But the wreckage didn't remain undiscovered for long. High in orbit, human satellites had monitored the entire crash sequence. Military installations worldwide had tracked the descending object. And in a classified compound in Colorado, Dr. Sarah Chen was already assembling a specialized team. Dr. Chen ranked among Earth's foremost authorities in xenoarchaeology, the examination of alien relics. She'd devoted her professional life to hoping for evidence that humanity wasn't alone in the cosmos. Now that evidence had literally dropped from the heavens. How soon can we reach the impact zone? She asked General Marcus Webb, who commanded the military division handling extraordinary incidents. The location is isolated, the general explained. Deep Canadian forest, roughly 200 miles from the closest road. We can position helicopters there within 6 hours. What about other nations? The Chinese, the Russians. They witnessed it as well, but they're classifying it as a meteor strike. We're the only ones who monitored it accurately. We've got maybe 24 hours before they realize what actually happened. Dr. Chen nodded firmly. Then we need to move immediately. 6 hours later, she stood in the wilderness, gazing at something that would transform human civilization forever. The alien spacecraft was massive, measuring at least 1,000 feet in length and 300 feet across. It had plunged nose first into the ground, though most of its body remained above the surface. The metallic exterior resembled nothing she'd ever encountered. Even scorched and damaged, it appeared to glow from within. The vessel's shape flowed smoothly and organically, as though it had grown naturally rather than being assembled. Dr. Chen, one of her team, called. You should see this. She followed him to a breach in the ship's flank. Through the gap, she glimpsed corridors illuminated by a soft blue radiance. The emergency system still functioned. It's magnificent, she breathed. Her team invested the next 12 hours conducting a preliminary survey of the craft. What they discovered left them speechless. The systems were clearly centuries, perhaps millennia beyond anything humans had developed. The ship's computers continued attempting to repair damage automatically. The walls appeared constructed from some form of living metal, and deep in the vessel's center they found something extraordinary. Dr. Chen, you need to see this immediately, called Dr. James Rodriguez, her propulsion specialist. She followed him into the ship's depths to an enormous chamber at its core. In the room's center sat a mechanism the size of a school bus. It was visibly damaged, with fractures running through its crystal framework, but it still radiated gentle illumination. What are we looking at? She asked. If I'm interpreting this correctly, I'd call it the ship's propulsion unit, but it operates unlike any engine I've studied. No mechanical components, no fuel reserves. It appears to control gravity directly. Dr. Chen stared at the mechanism. She was observing technology that could revolutionize everything. Faster than light travel, limitless clean power, the capability to reach distant stars. Can we relocate it? She asked. It weighs several thousand tons, but with proper precautions, possibly. The real question is whether we should. Dr. Chen considered this carefully. Moving the mechanism meant dismantling an alien vessel. It meant examining systems that belonged to another civilization. Some might even call it theft. But it also meant humanity could finally venture to the stars. Yes, she declared. We relocate it, we examine it, we learn everything from it, and if the aliens return. Dr. Chen looked around the chamber at walls still glowing with alien energy, at mechanisms that could teach humanity to journey between stars. Then we'll be prepared to meet them. During the following week, teams of researchers and technicians converged on the crash location. They constructed a temporary facility around the wreckage and began the meticulous work of analyzing every piece of alien technology they discovered. The ship's computers maintained partial functionality. With persistence, human programmers started decoding the alien symbols and accessing the vessel's database. They discovered that the craft belonged to a species called the Zephyrians, who participated in something called the Galactic Council. They also learned about the Craven Collective, the species that had destroyed this ship. The records depicted them as a warrior civilization that conquered planets and enslaved other races. But most significantly, they learned that the Zephyrians considered humans backward and insignificant. The ship's files labeled Earth as a primitive world of no consequence. This infuriated Dr. Chen. The aliens had crashed on Earth and abandoned their systems without even considering what humans might accomplish with them. They assumed humans were too simple-minded to understand. "They're mistaken," she told General Webb. "We can study this technology. We can develop it further. We can improve upon it." The general nodded. "Then let's show them they're wrong. I'm authorizing Project Lazarus. We're going to reconstruct this vessel. Commander, respectfully, that's impossible. The destruction is too comprehensive, and even if we could repair it, we don't understand its operation. Then we'll figure it out, and if we can't restore it exactly as it was, we'll build something superior." Dr. Chen studied the colossal alien craft. The assignment seemed impossible, but humans had accomplished impossible feats before. They'd progressed from first flight to lunar landing in under 70 years. They'd created computers with artificial intelligence and machines with visual recognition. Perhaps they could rebuild a starship as well. "Where do we begin?" she asked. General Webb grinned. "With the brightest minds on Earth and the conviction that humans can achieve anything when we commit ourselves fully." As expert teams arrived from across the globe, Dr. Chen stood in the alien ship's command deck. The displays were dark and the interfaces silent, but she could envision what it must have been like when the ship was operational. Soon, she promised herself, it would be operational again, but it would no longer be a Zephyrian vessel. It would be something unprecedented, something human, something the galaxy had never witnessed before. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in what had served as the alien ship's primary engineering space. 6 months had elapsed since the crash, and the chamber now resembled the world's most extraordinary construction zone. Human machinery sat beside alien equipment. Welding sparks flew near mechanisms that manipulated gravity. Computer connections wound between quantum crystals that still pulsed with alien power. "Status update," she called to her team. Dr. James Rodriguez glanced up from a massive alien engine part. His face was smeared with oil and his hair stuck out in every direction. "The gravity propulsion is more compromised than we initially thought. The quantum field creators are completely destroyed, but I believe I understand their function." "Demonstrate," Sarah requested. James guided her to a holographic screen displaying a 3-dimensional representation of the alien engine. The display was human technology. The aliens had never required such basic visual assistance. "Examine this," James said, indicating a series of crystal structures in the image. "These crystals generate a field that makes the vessel lighter than air, not by pushing against anything, but by actually altering how gravity impacts the ship." "That's impossible," said Dr. Lisa Park, the team's materials specialist. She'd transferred from the Navy, where she designed submarines. Now she was attempting to comprehend metal that could heal itself. "No, it's not impossible," James countered. "It's just incredibly advanced. The crystals oscillate at precise frequencies that interact with something called the quantum foam. I don't completely grasp it yet, but I can observe how it functions." Sarah nodded. This was the recurring pattern they'd encountered. The alien system seemed impossible initially, but when they studied them thoroughly, they could start understanding the underlying principles. The challenge was constructing their own version. "What about construction materials?" Sarah asked Lisa. Lisa shook her head. "That's our biggest obstacle. These crystals are composed of elements that don't occur on Earth. We've attempted to create them artificially, but we lack the capability to manufacture matter at the quantum level. So we can't construct a gravity drive?" "I didn't say that," Lisa replied with a grin. "I said we can't construct their gravity drive, but perhaps we can build something superior." She led them to another work area where an unusual mechanism hummed quietly. It appeared to combine alien crystals with human superconductors, all wrapped in a framework of Earth's most sophisticated materials. "I took their fundamental design and adapted it," Lisa explained. "Instead of using impossible crystals, I employed our finest superconductors arranged in the same configuration. The result isn't as powerful, but it functions. And because we comprehend the human components, we can regulate it more effectively." James stared at the mechanism. "You constructed a gravity manipulator using Earth technology. Not just Earth technology, human innovation. The aliens designed their crystals to be flawless. Ours are engineered to be adjustable. We can modify the frequency, alter the field intensity, even deactivated entirely if problems arise. This was the breakthrough Sarah had been anticipating. They didn't need to duplicate the alien systems exactly. They could employ human engineering to make them superior. What about the computational systems? She asked Dr. Michael Park, their computer specialist. Michael was a reserved, soft-spoken man who had devoted his career to developing artificial intelligence. Now he was attempting to understand how alien computers could process information like living organisms. The alien computers are remarkable, he explained. They don't just calculate information, they actually comprehend it, but they're also completely foreign. The way they process is so different from humans that we can barely interface with them, so we can't utilize them. Not directly, but I've been developing something alternative. Michael led them to a computer terminal that appeared mostly human, except for the alien components integrated into its structure. I've created a hybrid framework, he explained. Human programming connects with alien processing capability. The alien computer performs the complex calculations, but we determine what it calculates. He entered a command into the terminal. Instantly, the screen filled with intricate computations about gravity field manipulation. Ask it to design an improved gravity drive, Sarah suggested. Michael typed the request. Within moments, the screen displayed detailed blueprints for a mechanism that merged alien concepts with human engineering. It was more sophisticated than anything either species had constructed independently. Remarkable, James whispered. It's learning from both technologies and generating something entirely new. This was the pattern emerging throughout Project Lazarus. The humans weren't simply copying alien systems. They were enhancing them by merging them with human creativity. In the ship's medical facility, Dr. Emily Watson was doing the same with alien healing equipment. The aliens possessed devices that could treat almost any injury, but they were designed for alien physiology. Emily was adapting them to work on humans. The alien medical scanners can examine the human body in ways we never imagined, she explained to Sarah. But their treatment protocols assume alien biology, so I'm constructing hybrid devices that use alien scanning with human medical expertise. She demonstrated by scanning Sarah's hand with a device that resembled a flashlight, crossed with a telescope. The scanner revealed every bone, muscle, and blood vessel in perfect clarity. Impressive, Sarah said. How long before we can produce these for hospitals? I'm already developing simplified versions. Within a year, we should have medical scanners that make our current equipment look prehistoric. Throughout the vessel, similar work was progressing. Human engineers were examining alien weapons and designing superior human versions. Alien power systems were being merged with human energy grids. Even the ship's fundamental structure was being redesigned, using a combination of alien materials and human engineering. But the most critical work was happening on the ship's bridge. Commander Lisa Jiang was a military pilot who had been selected to captain the rebuilt vessel. She was collaborating with a team of interface designers to create control systems that humans could actually operate. The alien controls are completely inappropriate for humans, she explained to Sarah. They were designed for beings with 4 arms and brains that function differently than ours. A human pilot would crash this ship within minutes. So what's the answer? Lisa gestured to the bridge surrounding them. It still appeared mostly alien, but human displays and controls had been added throughout. We maintain the alien systems for power and velocity, but we add human interfaces for operation. Look at this. She settled into what had been the alien captain's seat. With her modifications, it now resembled the cockpit of an advanced human aircraft. The displays presented information in ways humans could interpret. The controls were positioned where human hands could reach them comfortably. The aliens designed their ship to work flawlessly, Lisa explained. But humans design things to be adaptable. Our version can be modified, upgraded, and enhanced. When we're finished, this ship will be capable of things the aliens never conceived. Sarah was impressed by what her team had accomplished in just 6 months, but she was also concerned. The work was progressing faster than anyone had anticipated, and that was attracting unwanted attention. General Webb found her in the ship's laboratory section. His expression was grave. "We have a problem," he said. "Satellite imagery shows that other governments are establishing bases near our perimeter. The Chinese have 300 troops 50 miles south of here. The Russians have a research team 100 miles north. They know what we discovered. They suspect. And there's something else. Our radio telescopes have detected transmissions from deep space. Someone is attempting to contact Earth." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "The aliens?" "We believe so. The transmissions are coming from the same direction the ship originated from. Whatever species sent this vessel, they know it crashed here. Sarah looked around the laboratory where her teams were making progress beyond their wildest expectations. Human technology was advancing by decades every single day. But now it seemed like they were running out of time. "How long do we have?" she asked. "Unknown. The transmission started 3 days ago. If they're traveling here, it could be weeks or months depending on how fast their vessels are." Sarah made a decision that would change everything. "We need to accelerate the project. I want teams working around the clock. We need to get this ship operational before the aliens arrive." "Sarah, that's impossible. You said yourself it would take at least 2 years to rebuild the ship. That was when we were trying to repair it exactly as it was. But we're not doing that anymore. We're constructing something new, something superior." She called a meeting of all the project leaders. Standing in the alien ship's main passage, she addressed the finest minds Earth had to offer. "We have a new deadline," she announced. 6 months. "We need the ship operational in 6 months. "That's impossible," Dr. Rodriguez protested. "We haven't even finished understanding the fundamental systems. Then we'll finish understanding them while we rebuild them. We'll test as we construct. We'll solve problems as we encounter them." "The risk is tremendous," Dr. Park added. "If we make a mistake, we could destroy the ship entirely. And if we don't try, the aliens might return and reclaim it from us," Sarah countered. "This is our opportunity to join the galaxy as equals, not as primitives who found someone else's broken technology." She looked at each of her team leaders. These were people who had dedicated their lives to expanding the boundaries of human knowledge. Now she was asking them to push further than anyone had ever gone before. "I know it seems impossible," she said, "but humans have accomplished impossible things before. We progressed from the first airplane to landing on the moon in 66 years. We constructed computers that can process information and machines that can recognize images. We split the atom and decoded DNA." She gestured to the alien technology surrounding them. "This is our Apollo program, our Manhattan Project, our opportunity to prove that humans belong among the stars. Are you with me?" One after another, her team leaders nodded. They were scientists and engineers, but they were also human, and humans had never retreated from a challenge that seemed impossible. "Then let's get to work," Sarah said. "We have a ship to construct." As her team dispersed to their workstations, Sarah stood alone in the passage. Through the breaches in the ship's hull, she could see the stars beginning to emerge in the evening sky. Somewhere out there, aliens were traveling toward Earth, probably expecting to find their broken ship exactly as they had abandoned it. Instead, they would find something that had never existed before. A ship constructed with alien technology and human determination. A ship that merged the best of both species into something greater than either could achieve independently. Sarah smiled as she headed back to work. The aliens had made a mistake when they underestimated humanity. Soon they would discover just how significant that mistake had been. But first, humans had to prove to themselves that they could construct a vessel that could travel among the stars. The hardest part wasn't understanding alien technology. It was believing that humans deserved to use it. That belief would sustain them through the next 6 months as they worked to achieve the impossible. Because if there was one thing humans were exceptional at, it was proving that impossible was just another word for not yet accomplished. The morning of the first test flight was cold and clear. Dr. Sarah Chen stood on the observation platform, watching her life's work prepare for its greatest challenge. The ship that had once been called the Void Whisper now bore a new name painted in bold letters across its hull: Terra's Wrath. 3 years had passed since the alien ship crashed in the Canadian wilderness. 3 years of 18-hour workdays, impossible deadlines, and brilliant innovations. The broken alien vessel had been completely transformed. The ship still appeared alien from the outside, but closer inspection revealed the changes. Human-designed sensor arrays dotted the hull. The engines were a hybrid of alien gravity manipulation and human fusion drives. Most importantly, the ship now had weapons, not copied from alien designs, but created by human military engineers who understood warfare in ways the peaceful Zephyrians never had. "Final systems check," announced Commander Lisa Jiang over the communication system. She sat in the captain's seat, surrounded by displays that combined alien efficiency with human intuition. "Navigation systems online," reported Lieutenant Tom Mitchell, the ship's pilot. The navigation station looked nothing like the original alien controls. Instead of the confusing four-dimensional displays the Zephyrians had used, the humans had created a system that any Earth pilot could understand. Gravity drive showing green across all indicators. called Chief Engineer James Rodriguez from the engine room. The gravity drive was perhaps their greatest achievement. Not a copy of the alien original, but a human interpretation that was actually more stable and controllable. "Weapon systems ready," added Commander Sarah Kim from the tactical station. The ship's weapons were purely human. Energy cannons that used alien power sources but human targeting systems. "Life support nominal," reported Dr. Emily Watson from the medical station. Even the life support systems had been redesigned for human physiology. Sarah watched from the ground as her creation prepared to fly. The ship sat on the launch pad they had built in the Nevada desert, far from curious eyes. Around the platform, hundreds of engineers and technicians monitored every system. General Webb stood beside her, his expression nervous. "Are you certain about this, Sarah? We could run more simulations." "We've run every simulation possible," Sarah replied, "but simulations can't tell us how the hybrid systems will interact in real flight conditions. At some point, we have to take the leap." The general nodded, but Sarah could see his concern. If the test flight failed, they might lose everything. Worse, they might lose the crew. But they were running out of time. The alien transmissions from space were getting stronger. Analysis suggested that multiple ships were approaching Earth, and they would arrive within months. "Terra's Wrath, you are cleared for launch," Sarah announced into her headset. Inside the ship, Commander Jung felt her heart racing. She had flown every type of aircraft the human military possessed. But this was different. This ship could travel faster than light. It could manipulate gravity itself. It represented everything humanity hoped to become. "Beginning launch sequence," she announced. The gravity drive activated with a low hum that seemed to vibrate through reality itself. Around the ship, dust and small rocks began to float upward as the local gravity field shifted. Dr. Rodriguez watched his displays carefully. The gravity drive was working perfectly, but this was the easy part. The real test would come when they tried to achieve faster than light speeds. "Gravity field stable," he reported. "Ready for liftoff." Commander Jung engaged the primary controls. The ship rose smoothly from the launch pad, as quiet as a bird. This was completely unlike human rockets, which roared and shook as they fought gravity. The Terra's Wrath simply made gravity irrelevant. "Looking good from down here," Sarah reported. "All systems showing normal." The ship climbed rapidly through the atmosphere. Within minutes, they were in space, looking down at the blue marble of Earth. "It's beautiful," whispered Lieutenant Mitchell. He had seen Earth from space before in conventional spacecraft, but somehow this felt different. They weren't visitors to space anymore. They belonged here. "Beginning faster than light systems test," Commander Jung announced. This was the moment of truth. The faster than light drive was the most complex part of the ship. It required the gravity drive, the quantum computers, and the navigation systems to work together perfectly. Dr. Rodriguez monitored the systems carefully. "Quantum field generators online. Gravity wave manipulators ready. Navigation computer has calculated a jump to the edge of the solar system and back, authorizing faster than light test." Sarah's voice came from Earth. Commander Jiang took a deep breath and engaged the faster than light drive. Reality twisted around the ship. For a moment, the stars seemed to stretch into lines of light. Then suddenly they were somewhere else entirely. The sun was now just another star in the distance. "Jump successful," Lieutenant Mitchell shouted. "We're 8 billion miles from Earth." The trip took less than a second. Inside the ship, the crew stared at their displays in amazement. They had just traveled further and faster than any human in history. But more than that, they had done it in a ship they had built themselves. "Return jump in 30 seconds, Commander Jiang announced. The second jump brought them back to Earth orbit. Below them, the planet looked exactly the same, but everything had changed. Humanity was no longer trapped on one world. "Terra's Wrath to ground control," Commander Jiang reported. "All systems performed perfectly. We are ready for extended flight testing." On the ground, Sarah felt tears running down her cheeks. They had done it. They had taken broken alien technology and made it into something purely human. But the celebration was short-lived. General Webb received an urgent message during the landing procedures. "Sarah, you need to see this," he said. The message was from the Deep Space Monitoring Station in Australia. They had detected multiple objects approaching the solar system at faster than light speeds. Analysis of the energy signatures suggested they were alien ships. "How many?" Sarah asked. "At least 12 ships, possibly more. They'll be here within days." Sarah looked up at the Terra's Wrath as it settled onto the landing pad. 1 ship against 12 or more. The odds were not good. But then she remembered something important. The aliens were coming to reclaim what they thought was their broken ship. They had no idea what they were really flying into. Far across the galaxy, Admiral Thex 9 stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Star Destroyer Vengeance. Around him, the Zephyrian fleet prepared for a simple recovery mission. "Admiral, we will reach the primitive world in 2 days," his navigation officer reported. "Good," Thex 9 replied. "I want to recover the Void Whisper's technology and leave as quickly as possible. These humans are beneath our notice." His science officer looked up from her instruments. "Commander, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the crash site. The humans may have attempted to study our technology." Thex 9 laughed. "Let them look. They might as well try to understand the thoughts of gods. Prepare the recovery teams." But as the Zephyrian fleet drew closer to Earth, their instruments began picking up readings that didn't make sense. The energy signatures from the planet's surface were far more complex than they should be. "Admiral," the science officer said, her voice uncertain, "I'm reading active quantum field manipulations. And Commander, I think there's a ship in orbit around the planet." "Impossible," Thex 9 replied. "These primitives barely have chemical rockets." "Commander, the energy signature looks like one of our ships, but that's impossible." The Void Whisper was destroyed. Admiral Thex 9 studied the readings himself. What he saw made no sense. The energy patterns were definitely Zephyrian in origin, but they were stronger and more stable than any ship in his fleet. "Increase speed," he ordered. "I want to know what's happening on that planet." Meanwhile, on Earth, Sarah was coordinating humanity's response to the approaching alien fleet. The Terra's Wrath was their only operational starship, but it wouldn't be fighting alone. "What about the orbital defense platforms?" General Webb asked. "They'll be completed in 24 hours, Sarah replied. "It's not much, but it's something." The orbital platforms were another human innovation. They combined alien energy weapons with human military tactics. Each platform was essentially a space-based fortress designed to protect Earth, and the ground-based installations are also ready. If any alien ships make it past our orbital defenses, they'll find that Earth isn't as helpless as they think. Commander Jiang approached them. "Dr. Chen, I'd like permission to take the Terra's Wrath out for advanced combat trials." "Absolutely not," General Webb said immediately. "That ship is humanity's most valuable asset. We can't risk it in unnecessary tests." "With respect, Commander, those tests aren't unnecessary," Jiang replied. "We know the ship can fly, but we don't know how it handles in combat situations. When the aliens arrive, I need to know exactly what this ship can do." Sarah considered this. Jiang was right. They needed to understand the ship's combat capabilities. But Webb was also right about the risks. Limited trials only, she decided. "Stay close to Earth, and at the first sign of trouble, you return home immediately." Commander Jiang nodded and returned to her ship. Within an hour, the Terra's Wrath was back in space, running combat maneuvers that pushed both the ship and crew to their limits. What they discovered amazed them. The ship wasn't just fast and powerful. It was incredibly agile. The human modifications had made it more maneuverable than any ship the Zephyrians had ever built. "The gravity drive lets us change direction instantly," Lieutenant Mitchell reported. "We can accelerate, stop, and reverse without the crew feeling any force. Weapon systems are incredibly accurate," added Commander Kim. "The alien power sources give us nearly unlimited ammunition, and the shields can absorb massive amounts of damage," Dr. Watson noted from her medical station. But the most important discovery was how well the human crew worked together. The alien ship had been designed for a species that made decisions slowly and carefully. The human version was built for a species that could think and react quickly in dangerous situations. Commander Jiang smiled as she put the ship through another series of impossible maneuvers. The aliens had given humanity a gift when they crashed their ship on Earth. They just didn't know it yet. "Terra's Wrath to ground control," she reported. "Combat trials complete. This ship is ready for anything." On the ground, Sarah watched the approaching alien fleet on her displays. 12 ships against 1. Those would normally be impossible odds. But the aliens were expecting to find their old ship broken and helpless. Instead, they were going to meet something that had never existed before. A ship that combined alien technology with human courage. Sarah smiled grimly. The aliens were about to learn that humans had taken their gift and made it into something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The approaching fleet represented a species that had conquered worlds and enslaved entire civilizations. But they had never faced anything like what was waiting for them in Earth's solar system. Soon they would discover that the most dangerous thing in the universe wasn't superior technology or overwhelming numbers. It was a species that refused to give up no matter what the odds. The alien fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Like predators emerging from the darkness, Admiral Thex 9 stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the readings his sensors were providing. Something was very wrong. "Report," he ordered his science officer. "Commander, I'm detecting 12 orbital defense platforms around the third planet. They're armed with energy weapons that appear to be based on our technology." "That's impossible," Thex 9 replied. "These primitives don't even have faster-than-light travel." "Commander, there's more. I'm detecting a ship in orbit. The energy signature matches our records for the Void Whisper, but the power readings are 40% higher than they should be." Admiral Thex 9 felt a cold chill run through his body. The Void Whisper had been destroyed. He had watched it crash himself. There was no way these primitive humans could have repaired it. "Are you certain about these readings?" "Yes, Commander. The ship is definitely based on Zephyrian technology, but it's been extensively modified." "Commander, I don't think we're dealing with primitives anymore." Before Admiral Thex 9 could respond, his communication officer received an incoming signal. "Commander, we're being hailed by the planet. Put it through." The main screen filled with the image of a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. Admiral Thex 9 had studied human appearance as part of his mission briefing, but seeing one in person was still strange. They looked so young and fragile. "This is Commander Lisa Jiang of the Earth Defense Force ship Terra's Wrath," the human said. "You are entering protected space without permission. Please state your intentions." Admiral Thex 9 was too shocked to speak for a moment. The primitive humans were challenging him. They were demanding that he explain himself. "I am Admiral Thex 9 of the Zephyrian Star Navy," he finally replied. "We are here to recover stolen property. The ship you call Terra's Wrath belongs to us." Commander Jiang smiled, and Admiral Thex 9 didn't like the expression on her face. It reminded him of the look craven warriors had before they attacked. "I'm afraid you're mistaken, Admiral," she said. "The ship you abandoned here was considered salvage under galactic law. We have improved it considerably. It now belongs to Earth. You dare to claim ownership of Zephyrian technology?" Admiral Thex 9 shouted. "You are primitives. You have no right to technology you cannot understand." "Can't understand?" "Weapon systems are incredibly accurate," added Commander Kim. "The alien power sources give us nearly unlimited ammunition, and the shields can absorb massive amounts of damage," Dr. Watson noted from her medical station. But the most important discovery was how well the human crew worked together. The alien ship had been designed for a species that made decisions slowly and carefully. The human version was built for a species that could think and react quickly in dangerous situations. Commander Jiang smiled as she put the ship through another series of impossible maneuvers. The aliens had given humanity a gift when they crashed their ship on Earth. They just didn't know it yet. "Terra's Wrath to ground control," she reported. "Combat trials complete. This ship is ready for anything." On the ground, Sarah watched the approaching alien fleet on her displays. 12 ships against one. Those would normally be impossible odds. But the aliens were expecting to find their old ship broken and helpless. Instead, they were going to meet something that had never existed before. A ship that combined alien technology with human courage. Sarah smiled grimly. The aliens were about to learn that humans had taken their gift and made it into something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The approaching fleet represented a species that had conquered worlds and enslaved entire civilizations. But they had never faced anything like what was waiting for them in Earth's solar system. Soon they would discover that the most dangerous thing in the universe wasn't superior technology or overwhelming numbers. It was a species that refused to give up no matter what the odds. The alien fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. Like predators emerging from the darkness, Admiral Thex 9 stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the readings his sensors were providing. Something was very wrong. "Report," he ordered his science officer. "Commander, I'm detecting 12 orbital defense platforms around the third planet. They're armed with energy weapons that appear to be based on our technology." "That's impossible," Thex 9 replied. "These primitives don't even have faster-than-light travel." "Commander, there's more. I'm detecting a ship in orbit. The energy signature matches our records for the Void Whisper, but the power readings are 40% higher than they should be." Admiral Thex 9 felt a cold chill run through his body. The Void Whisper had been destroyed. He had watched it crash himself. There was no way these primitive humans could have repaired it. Are you certain about these readings? Yes, Commander. The ship is definitely based on Zephyrian technology, but it's been extensively modified. Commander, I don't think we're dealing with primitives anymore. Before Admiral Thex 9 could respond, his communication officer received an incoming signal. Commander, we're being hailed by the planet. Put it through. The main screen filled with the image of a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. Admiral Thex 9 had studied human appearance as part of his mission briefing, but seeing one in person was still strange. They looked so young and fragile. This is Commander Lisa Jiang of the Earth Defense Force ship Terra's Wrath, the human said. You are entering protected space without permission. Please state your intentions. Admiral Thex 9 was too shocked to speak for a moment. The primitive humans were challenging him. They were demanding that he explain himself. I am Admiral Thex 9 of the Zephyrian Star Navy, he finally replied. We are here to recover stolen property. The ship you call Terra's Wrath belongs to us. Commander Jiang smiled, and Admiral Thex 9 didn't like the expression on her face. It reminded him of the look craven warriors had before they attacked. I'm afraid you're mistaken, Admiral, she said. The ship you abandoned here was considered salvage under galactic law. We have improved it considerably. It now belongs to Earth. You dare to claim ownership of Zephyrian technology? Admiral Thex 9 shouted. You are primitives. You have no right to technology you cannot understand. Can't understand? Commander Jiang's smile became wider. Perhaps you should take a closer look at what we've done with your superior technology. The Terra's Wrath suddenly appeared on Admiral Thex 9's screens, having moved from the far side of Earth to directly in front of his fleet in the space of a heartbeat. The maneuver was impossible. No ship could accelerate that quickly without destroying its crew. How did they do that? His pilot whispered. Admiral Thex 9 studied the ship on his screen. It still looked like the Void Whisper, but something was different. The hull gleamed with new armor. Strange weapons dotted its surface, and the energy readings were unlike anything in his experience. Commander, his science officer reported, I'm detecting massive gravitational anomalies around their ship. Somehow they've improved our gravity drive system. Improved? That's impossible. Zephyrian technology is the most advanced in the galaxy. Commander, the readings suggest their gravity drive is 3 times more efficient than ours. Admiral Thex 9 felt his world turning upside down. These humans had not just repaired his ship. They had made it better. Admiral, Commander Jiang's voice came from the speakers. I'm going to give you one chance to withdraw peacefully. Leave our solar system now and we'll consider this a misunderstanding. You threaten me? Admiral Thex 9 could barely control his rage. I have 12 ships. You have 1. Quality over quantity, Commander Jiang replied calmly, but you're welcome to test that theory. Admiral Thex 9 cut the communication and turned to his fleet commanders. All ships prepare for battle. We will destroy that ship and teach these primitives their place in the galaxy. But as his ships moved into attack formation, Admiral Thex 9 noticed something that made his blood freeze. The 12 orbital platforms around Earth were moving, repositioning themselves to create overlapping fields of fire. And more concerning, his sensors were detecting energy buildup that suggested the platforms were charging weapons far more powerful than anything his fleet carried. Commander, his tactical officer reported, the platforms are targeting our ships. Their weapons appear to be modified versions of our own energy cannons, but the power readings are off the scale. How much more powerful? Commander, each platform appears to be carrying weapons that could destroy one of our ships with a single shot. Admiral Thex 9 stared at the tactical display. 1 ship and 12 platforms against his fleet of 12 ships. The odds had seemed overwhelmingly in his favor. Now he wasn't so sure. Begin the attack, he ordered anyway. Target the lone ship first. The Zephyrian fleet opened fire with energy weapons that could destroy mountains. Beams of concentrated power that had conquered dozens of worlds lashed out at the Terra's Wrath and bounced harmlessly off its shields. Impossible, Admiral Thex 9 shouted. Our weapons can destroy anything. Commander, his science officer reported, her voice shaking. Their shields are some kind of layered system. It looks like they've combined our shield technology with something entirely new. The shields are actually getting stronger as we fire at them. What do you mean stronger? Commander, I think their shields are somehow absorbing our energy and using it to power their own defenses. Before Admiral Thex 9 could process this information, the Terra's Wrath returned fire. The human weapons were unlike anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. Instead of the focused energy beams the Zephyrians used, the humans fired what appeared to be packets of contained plasma. that exploded with tremendous force. The first volley destroyed 2 Zephyrian ships instantly. "Evasive maneuvers," Admiral Thex 9 shouted. But it was too late. The Terra's wrath was moving in ways that defied physics, appearing in one location and instantly jumping to another. The human ship was everywhere at once, striking from impossible angles. Within minutes, 4 more Zephyrian ships were destroyed or crippled. "Commander, we have to retreat," his tactical officer shouted over the alarms. "No, we outnumber them. Continue the attack." But Admiral Thex 9's problems were just beginning. The orbital platforms around Earth opened fire, sending beams of energy that made his own weapons look like flashlights. 3 more of his ships disappeared in brilliant explosions. "Commander, we've lost 9 ships," his communication officer reported. "The remaining ships are requesting permission to withdraw." Admiral Thex 9 looked at his tactical display in disbelief. In less than 10 minutes, his fleet had been reduced from 12 ships to 3. The primitives had done the impossible. They had outfought the Zephyrian Star Navy. "How?" he whispered. His science officer looked up from her instruments with an expression of pure terror. "Commander, I've been analyzing their tactics. They're not fighting like any species we've encountered before." "What do you mean?" "Commander, most species fight to minimize losses. They protect their ships and retreat when damaged. But these humans, they fight to win regardless of the cost. Their ship has taken damage that would force us to withdraw. But they keep attacking." Admiral Thex 9 looked at the Terra's wrath on his screen. The ship was indeed damaged. He could see hull breaches and power fluctuations. But instead of retreating to safety, the human ship was accelerating toward his remaining vessels. "They're insane," he breathed. "No, Commander, they're determined. And Commander, there's something else. I've been monitoring their communications. This isn't their entire fleet." "What do you mean?" "Commander, they're referring to other ships under construction. According to their communications, the Terra's Wrath is just the first of several vessels they're building." Admiral Thex 9 felt the universe spinning around him. The humans hadn't just built one ship from his crashed vessel. They were building an entire fleet. "Commander, incoming transmission from the human ship," his communication officer reported. "Put it through." Commander Zhang appeared on the screen again. Her ship's bridge was filled with smoke and sparks flew from damaged equipment, but her expression was calm and confident. "Admiral, I'm prepared to accept your surrender," she said. "Surrender?" Admiral Thex 9 could barely speak. "You're demanding that I surrender? You have 3 damaged ships remaining. I have 1 ship and 12 platforms, all still fully operational. The math is simple. But we are Zephyrians. We are a superior species. You are primitives." Commander Jiang's expression became cold. "Admiral, let me explain something to you. 3 years ago, we were primitives. We couldn't travel between stars. We barely understood how your technology worked. But we learned. We adapted. We improved." She gestured to her damaged bridge. "This ship isn't just your old vessel repaired. It's your technology combined with human engineering. It's stronger, faster, and more powerful than anything you ever built." "That's impossible, is it? Look around you, Admiral. Look at what we've accomplished in 3 years. You gave us a gift when you abandoned that ship on our world. You taught us that we weren't alone in the galaxy. You showed us that there were species out there with technology we could barely imagine." Commander Zhang leaned forward in her seat. "But you made one crucial mistake. You assumed that having advanced technology made you superior to us. You never considered that we might take your technology and make it better." Admiral Thex 9 stared at the human female on his screen. Everything he had believed about the natural order of the galaxy was crumbling around him. "What do you want?" he asked. "I want you to take a message back to your people," Commander Zhang replied. "Tell them that Earth is under human protection now. Tell them that we're not the primitives you remember. And tell them that if they come here again with hostile intentions, they'll face the consequences." "And if I refuse?" Commander Zhang's smile returned, and Admiral Thex 9 realized it was the most terrifying expression he had ever seen. "Then you won't be taking any messages anywhere, Admiral." Admiral Thex 9 looked at his tactical display one more time. 3 ships against 13. His fleet was outgunned, outmaneuvered, and completely demoralized. "I accept your terms," he said quietly. "Excellent. You have 10 minutes to collect survivors from your destroyed ships. Then I want you out of our solar system." The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Thex 9 alone with his shame. The greatest military defeat in Zephyrian history had been inflicted by a species they had dismissed as primitives. As his remaining ships limped away from Earth, Admiral Thex 9 tried to understand what had gone wrong. The humans had taken Zephyrian technology and somehow made it better. But how? The answer came to him as he watched the Terra's wrath on his rear sensors. The ship wasn't just flying. It was dancing through space, moving in ways that showcased perfect control and unlimited confidence. The Zephyrians had built their technology to be safe and reliable. The humans had rebuilt it to be powerful and flexible. Where the Zephyrians saw limits, the humans saw possibilities. But more than that, the humans fought differently than any species the Zephyrians had encountered. They didn't fight to preserve their ships or minimize casualties. They fought to win no matter what the cost. As Earth disappeared behind them, Admiral Thex 9 composed his report to the Zephyrian High Council. It would be the most difficult message he had ever sent. The primitives were primitive no longer. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they had announced their presence by defeating one of the galaxy's oldest spacefaring civilizations. The age of human expansion was about to begin. The Galactic Council chamber was a massive structure that floated in space between 12 different star systems. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered here to discuss matters of importance to the galaxy. Today they were discussing the impossible reports coming from a small yellow star on the edge of known space. Ambassador Vel 8 of the Zephyrian Republic stood before the assembled delegates, his forearms trembling as he delivered the most humiliating report in his species' history. "Honored delegates," he began, "I must inform the Council of a development in the Sol system." The chamber filled with the various sounds different species made when they were curious. Clicking, chirping, and whistling echoed through the vast space. The primitive species known as humans have somehow acquired faster than light technology, Vel 8 continued. A delegate from the Galactic Empire, a species that looked like giant insects, buzzed loudly. "How is this possible? Our records show the humans have not even achieved interstellar travel." "The situation is complicated," Vel 8 replied. 3 years ago, one of our ships crashed on their world. The crew was rescued, but the vessel was left behind. "And they repaired it?" asked a delegate from the Crystalline Confederation. "Worse," Vel 8 said quietly. "They improved it." The chamber erupted in noise as hundreds of delegates expressed their disbelief in dozens of different languages. "Silence," commanded the council speaker, an ancient being whose species was so old they had forgotten their original name. "Explain how primitives could improve Zephyrian technology." Vel 8 activated a holographic display that showed the battle between Admiral Thex 9's fleet and the Terra's wrath. The assembled delegates watched in stunned silence as the human ship destroyed 9 Zephyrian vessels in minutes. "As you can see," Vel 8 said, "the humans did not simply repair our technology. They combined it with their own innovations to create something entirely new." "This is disturbing," the speaker said. "How do we respond to this development?" "The Zephyrian Republic requests permission to send a full battle fleet to reclaim our technology," Vel 8 announced. But before the speaker could respond, another voice spoke from the chamber's communication system. "I'm afraid that won't be possible." Every delegate in the chamber turned to look at the main communication screen. A human female in a crisp military uniform looked back at them. Behind her, they could see what was clearly the bridge of a starship. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force," the human said calmly. "I believe you are discussing my species." The chamber erupted in chaos. How had a primitive species hacked into the most secure communication system in the galaxy? "This is impossible," Vel 8 shouted. "Our communication systems are protected by quantum encryption." "Your quantum encryption is based on mathematics we mastered 6 months ago," Captain Chen replied. "We've been monitoring this meeting since it began." The speaker managed to restore order to the chamber. "Human, by what right do you intrude upon this gathering?" "By the right of a spacefaring species addressing the Galactic Council," Captain Chen replied. "Earth formally requests membership in the Galactic Council." "Membership?" The speaker's ancient voice carried tones of disbelief. "You have been a spacefaring species for less than 4 years. 3 years and 7 months to be exact," Captain Chen corrected. "But in that time, we have developed technology that exceeds most council member species. We have defended our territory against unprovoked attack, and we have demonstrated our commitment to peaceful exploration of the galaxy." "Peaceful?" Vel 8 shouted. "You destroyed 9 of our ships. You attacked us without provocation," Captain Chen replied coolly. "We defended ourselves. If you consider self-defense to be aggression, perhaps you should reconsider your approach to diplomacy." The speaker studied the human on the screen. In his thousands of years of life, he had seen many species make their first contact with the galactic community. but none had ever arrived with such confidence. "Very well," the speaker said. "Earth's application for council membership will be considered. But first you must submit to standard evaluation procedures." "What kind of evaluation?" Captain Chen asked. "Technological assessment, military capabilities review, and cultural compatibility analysis," the speaker explained. "The process normally takes several years." "I'm afraid we don't have several years," Captain Chen said. "Our deep space sensors have detected a large fleet moving toward our territory. According to our analysis, they belong to the Craven Collective." The chamber fell silent. Every species in the galaxy feared the Craven. They were a warrior race that conquered worlds and enslaved entire civilizations. "The Craven are moving toward your system?" the speaker asked. "A fleet of approximately 50 ships," Captain Chen confirmed. "They should arrive in our territory within days." "Then you are doomed," Vel 8 said with satisfaction. "The Craven have never been defeated in battle." Captain Chen smiled, and something about that expression made every delegate in the chamber feel uncomfortable. "We'll see about that," she said. The communication ended, leaving the council in stunned silence. Finally, the speaker addressed the chamber. "I believe we should send observers to the Sol system," he announced. "If the humans somehow survive contact with the Craven, we may need to reconsider everything we know about warfare." 3 days later, the Craven fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. War leader Gorth Prime stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Crusher, studying the readings his sensors provided. "Report," he growled. "War leader, we detect a single inhabited planet in this system." His tactical officer reported. 12 orbital defense platforms and 5 ships in the inner system." "5 ships?" Gorth Prime laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "They think 5 ships can stand against the might of the Craven. This will be over quickly." But as his fleet moved deeper into the system, Gorth Prime began to notice things that troubled him. The human ships were moving in formation, but not like any formation he had ever seen. They seemed to be dancing around each other in complex patterns. "What are they doing?" he asked his tactical officer. "Unknown, war leader. Their movement patterns don't match any known military doctrine." Gorth Prime studied the enemy fleet more carefully. The ships themselves looked strange. They appeared to be based on Zephyrian technology, but with significant modifications, and the energy readings were far higher than any Zephyrian ship he had ever encountered. "War leader," his communication officer reported, "we are being hailed." "Put it through." The main screen filled with the image of a human female. Gorth Prime had fought dozens of species, and he prided himself on reading the fear in his enemy's eyes. But this human showed no fear at all. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force," the human said. "You are entering protected space without authorization. Please state your intentions." "I am War Leader Gorth Prime of the Craven Collective," he replied. "We have come to conquer your world and enslave your people. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick." The human actually smiled. "I'm afraid that's not going to happen, War Leader. This is your only warning. Withdraw from our system immediately or face the consequences." Gorth Prime couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You dare threaten the Craven? I have 50 ships. You have 5. "Quality over quantity," Captain Chen replied. "But you're welcome to test that theory." The transmission ended, and Gorth Prime turned to his fleet commanders. "All ships, attack formation. We will destroy these impertinent primitives quickly and efficiently." The Craven fleet moved into their standard attack pattern, a formation that had conquered 100 worlds. Their ships were designed for one purpose: destruction. Each vessel carried enough firepower to level continents. But as they approached the human fleet, something unexpected happened. The 5 human ships suddenly spread out, moving in directions that made no tactical sense. Instead of forming a defensive line, they scattered across space. "What are they doing?" Gorth Prime demanded. "Unknown, war leader. This is not standard fleet doctrine for any known species." Before Gorth Prime could respond, the human ships opened fire. The weapons they used were unlike anything the Craven had ever seen. Instead of the energy beams or projectile weapons most species used, the humans fired what appeared to be contained gravitational distortions. The weapons didn't just damage Craven ships. They twisted them into impossible shapes before tearing them apart. "Impossible!" Gorth Prime shouted as he watched 3 of his ships die in the first volley. "Our armor can withstand any weapon." "War leader," his science officer reported, "their weapons appear to manipulate gravitational fields. They're not breaking through our armor. They're distorting space around our ships until the armor tears itself apart." "How is that possible?" Unknown war leader. The technology appears to be based on principles we don't understand. The battle continued, but it wasn't really a battle at all. It was a demonstration. The human ships moved through the Craven fleet like dancers, appearing in one location and instantly jumping to another. Their weapons struck from impossible angles, and their shields seemed to grow stronger the more damage they absorbed. Within 30 minutes, the mighty Craven fleet was reduced to wreckage floating in space. Gorth Prime found himself alone on the bridge of his crippled flagship, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. 50 ships reduced to scrap metal by 5 human vessels. War leader, his communication officer called weakly. The humans are hailing us. Put it through. Captain Chen appeared on the screen again. Her ship's bridge showed no signs of damage, while Gorth Prime's command center was filled with smoke and sparks. War leader Gorth Prime, she said formally, I am prepared to accept your surrender.
Surrender?
Gorth Prime could barely speak. The Craven do not surrender. Then you die, Captain Chen replied simply. Your choice. Gorth Prime looked around his ruined bridge. His crew was dead or dying. His fleet was destroyed. His entire worldview had been shattered in less than an hour. I surrender, he whispered. Excellent, Captain Chen said. You will be taken into custody and returned to Craven space with a message for your people. Any future attacks on human territory will be met with the complete destruction of your fleets. As Gorth Prime was taken prisoner, he tried to understand what had happened. The Craven had conquered dozens of species using superior firepower and ruthless tactics. But the humans had defeated them using something entirely different. Technology so advanced it seemed like magic, combined with tactical thinking that was completely alien to Craven understanding. News of the Craven defeat spread across the galaxy within hours. The species that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries had been destroyed by a race that most civilizations considered primitive. In the Galactic Council chamber, the speaker called an emergency session. The humans have accomplished something that has never been done before, he announced to the assembled delegates. They have completely defeated a Craven fleet without losing a single ship. The chamber was silent as delegates tried to process this information. Furthermore, the speaker continued, our observers report that the human fleet consisted of only 5 ships. They defeated 50 Craven vessels with 5 ships and took no casualties. Val 8 of the Zephyrian Republic stood shakily. Honored speaker, the Zephyrian Republic formally withdraws its claim to the technology found by the humans. We recognize Earth's right to that technology. Furthermore, Val 8 continued, his voice barely audible, the Zephyrian Republic would like to open formal diplomatic relations with Earth. We believe we have much to learn from them. The speaker nodded. The Council hereby grants Earth full membership status effective immediately. Captain Chen, please respond. The communication screen activated, showing Captain Chen on the bridge of her ship. But now the delegates could see that she was not alone. Behind her stood representatives from all 5 human ships. Honored speaker, Captain Chen said, Earth accepts membership in the Galactic Council, but we want to make something clear to all member species. She gestured to her fellow captains. These ships represent only the beginning of human space capability. We currently have 20 more vessels under construction, each one more advanced than the last. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. But more importantly, Captain Chen continued, we want the galaxy to know that Earth stands ready to defend any council member species against aggression. The age of conquest and slavery is over. Any species that threatens the peaceful development of galactic civilization will answer to the Earth Defense Force. The speaker studied the human captain. You would use your advanced technology to protect others? That's what civilized species do, Captain Chen replied. They protect those who cannot protect themselves. They stand against aggression and oppression. They work together to build a better galaxy for all species. She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice carried across the galaxy to every listening species. The galaxy has a new guardian now, and we will not allow the strong to prey upon the weak ever again. As the communication ended, the speaker looked around the chamber at hundreds of delegates from dozens of species. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted permanently. Humanity had arrived among the stars not as conquerors but as protectors. They had taken abandoned alien technology and forged it into something greater than its creators had ever imagined. The universe would never be the same. In the years that followed, human technology would spread to allied species, always freely given, never forced. The galaxy would enter an age of unprecedented peace and prosperity, protected by ships that bore the mark of human innovation and alien wisdom combined. And it all began with a broken ship abandoned in a forest, and the humans who refused to see limits where others saw only impossibilities. The aliens had indeed given humanity absolute retribution, not against Earth's enemies, but against the very concept that any species was too primitive to reach for the stars.